Hello, guys. My name is Ali Moafi Madani. Welcome to the podcast Scientist Secret Stories. Today, I have a guest. Because of the anonymous strategy, I don't say his name, but we call him Alex. He's a German guy, he's a German scientist. Welcome, Alex. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Ali, for having me. I'm really good here. Thank you.
Yeah, nice. I started with the first question, and you did your bachelor and master, and you started with your PhD. My first question is, why PhD? What was your main motivation for starting your PhD position or go into the science?
Okay, well, I never really planned to do a PhD before I started. So, after my master's and after I graduated, or during my graduation period, I was looking for different opportunities. So, one was in science, but I was really not sticking only to that. I was also looking for positions in the industry in NGOs, but I was more specific for like private reasons to look for jobs in a certain region of Germany, close to Cologne. That's when I found this PhD program, which was coupled to a project, research project that was really close to the research I did during my master thesis. That was really a good fit. Actually, that was the first job I applied and had an interview for. It went good, so I just accepted the offer and I went there because it was also close to Cologne. And that's how I ended up doing my PhD and I ended up doing this interview now.
Ah, yeah, okay. It means you found the position, you send your application, you got the interview, you got the position, finished.
Yeah, exactly. As simple as that. Yeah. It was just
Okay.
really a good fit. I went there and the questions were really fair and I was already knowing the topic from my master's. So I think I was a little bit lucky and from the technical level I also understood what they wanted from me and it all went quite fine. So I think I got quite lucky with my first job.
I wanted to ask the second question, how did you find your PhD position? But you explained it. It means the main reason for your PhD decision wasn't, for example, the region. It's actually the topic was related to your master too. It was a good fit.
Yeah. So I wanted to do a job in handling with climate change issues, climate change impact, and maybe some other environmental challenges,
Yeah.
and maybe some development issues. So that was the topics that I was looking for in a job. Yeah, in the end, I was still not completely done, so I was actually not doing a lot of applications because I was still graduating, so I was not fully done. But I just saw this opportunity. I thought, wow, okay, that's very close to what I was doing before. I applied and I had no expectations, but it went really good. So as I said, that was really a lucky shot.
Yeah, nice. I had the second question. Actually, you answered it because you did your bachelor at one university, you did your master on the other university, and you moved to the other university because of your PhD position. You answered it. Why you
Yeah.
go to the other university? But I changed a little bit the question. How is it?
Mm.
How is the experience of different universities? Because sometimes if you stay for your bachelor, master, PhD, and one university, it's from energy management is easier because you know the structure, you know the city, you don't want to have to move and change the
Mm.
city. But how is the aspect of experiences to have different universities?
Yeah, so I'm actually not doing my PhD in a university, so this is a research center. I'm still a student, a PhD student at the university, so the research center has kind
Yeah,
of contracts. So we have professors in the research center, and they
yeah,
are at a certain university. But for my normal working day and even working year, I'm barely at the university. I am admissioned and enrolled at. So I have sometimes some courses, but that's maybe once per year where I go to the university and I'm actually on the university campus. So from day to day, I'm really only on the campus from the research center, which is maybe like half an hour away from the university.
Time management is it's perfect.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
It's
exactly. But the difference, maybe I can then just tell the difference between the research center and the university.
you can say it
So
now.
for me, for example, I'm not doing any lectures or teaching activities. So I have a master's student, which is really nice, but it's actually not mandatory. I know often in the universities it's mandatory to do courses or lecturing or tutoring. But for us, that's most of the PhDs actually focus on the science, but I really find it also worthwhile to at least supervise a younger researcher and do that. I think just the research through because of the missing younger students is the research center a little bit different. So it's a little bit more professional and it feels a little bit more serious. So in the university, you always see young students running around, but in our research center, it's also it's a little bit outside of the city. It feels a little bit more mature. Can also be maybe on the negative side, but yeah, that's one main difference. And I think research centers usually have a lot. Yeah, they can allocate different type of funds. Different research centers focus on different facilities, but our research center, for example, has large research infrastructures. So we have large technical machines on the one hand, computers, measurement devices, and so on that are very expensive for universities usually. I think the focus is a little bit different there also than um, what type of research you can do is also different because of that.
You mean because you have it expensive machine and computers, and you can research in other level of the science system, because such resources you don't have it maybe at the university, and you have the
Exactly.
chance to use these such resources.
Exactly, I'm pretty sure. So it's like a science niche. So if you
Yeah.
have such large measurement devices or large computers and so on, you can actually do science that many other scientific institutions or universities
Yeah.
cannot do. So you're a little bit in, yeah, in that matter, you're in a small advantage. But of course, there are many different aspects to research. So
Yeah.
that's definitely not the only one.
And is you said the disadvantages of this or less connection with the young students.
Yes.
Do you think it depends on the personality of the person? For example, you like to, or you are open-minded, you are open, and you are a communicated. You like the communication with other people. Maybe it's a reason because you like to communicate with others, or it's not because of the personality of the person as a disadvantages, or this this connection. I mean, with the younger. You see it as a disadvantage because of your mindset, because you like it, or the others don't say
Mhm.
disadvantages. As you understand what I mean?
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's I think my personal opinion. Yeah. Yeah, many would see it actually as an advantage. So you can really focus a lot on your research in the research
Yeah,
center
yeah, exactly.
instead of dealing with the young scientists and supervising them. Yes.
Yeah, again, exactly. And you did, or we go a little bit back. You explained a little bit about the difference between the research center and the university, and how was, because as a bachelor student and master student, you have different roles, and with your PhD position, you have another roles.
Mm.
How was the first year of your PhD for you at the beginning? Was it difficult, easy, or it was a challenging, or it was how was different, or what was different?
There is actually a lot to unpack there, I guess. I was working for 1 month, no, less than 1 month, and in the research center, and then the COVID pandemic hit. So I just mentioned that just to have the reference or for you just to know it because it really affected uh, a large part of my PhD. And I think, yeah, the first year also very much. I will mention that again because it's important for a lot of aspects. Yeah, but my first year, basically, how it was different for me being a student was that I was actually working. So, of course, yeah, I know still many people think PhD students are students, but we really work. I mean, we have contracts and we have to wake up in the morning and go home. We have a little bit, of course, there's are some differences to, let's say, the average person in the industry. We have some freedom or some flexibility in our tasks, but that is also not a given thing. Some PhD students are also very narrowed down or very restricted by their supervisor. But let's come back to me. I mean, I was very motivated actually during my first year.
Because
Was also happy that I could do it. Slowly, slowly, started having this imposter syndrome. I don't know if you know about it.
no, can you explain it a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I think it's also important. It's very also common. I know from my colleagues as well. Imposter syndrome is when you actually come to an environment. It can be any new environment and you feel like an imposter. So saying that I'm like, okay, people talk to you and you would always have this fear of them knowing that you don't deserve to be there. Like they would say, okay, you're fake, like you're not the real scientist. Like I think that was kind of me. Yeah, as I said, I was not really in so much into science before. So I was kind of dealing with it maybe just to find myself as really being a scientist. So oftentimes I would feel like an imposter there, and it really took maybe the most part of the first year until I got the confidence to actually see me as the PhD student for real and being there and yeah, feeling worth being there. But of course, that was I could have felt like that from the start. But I think it's also pretty common for people to have this, especially in the beginning of the PhD. Many of my colleagues also talk to me about it.
But my question is, what is the main reason that you need this feeling? Because it's at the end, it's a feeling. Has
Yeah,
does
I
this
think.
feeling has advantages because you need it to improve
Mhm.
yourself, or it's uh, why is that
Yeah,
this feeling is on the way?
it's a good question, and I'm not sure if I can answer it in detail because I know from many people in research have this feeling, and I don't know if many people in the industry have this feeling. I think what is maybe one reason is that you're just coming out from being a student, and it's also definitely a personal thing. So I think not everyone will have it, but if you're a person that is very self-reflective, maybe, and yeah, come to the and to come you come to an environment that is feels kind of a little bit elitist. You know, you feel these people they know a lot, and maybe as a master's student and doing your thesis and graduating, you already thought, hey, I know quite a bit, right? So the first week, maybe coming to the research center, you still have this feeling, I know a lot, and but then you start realizing there's a whole new world behind that, and you start thinking, okay, maybe I don't know so much. What am I even doing here? Maybe I'm not even sure if I really can do it. Like if I'm intelligent enough, if I'm creative enough, things like that. So I think if you're a self-reflecting person, I think definitely you will have to um, convince yourself that you can do it. And I think that's a process. I went through that process for the most part of the first year, but still I was very excited. So when I was working most days of the week, I think that's also during because of Corona and because I was in a research project where not many people were yet involved, I was kind of by myself. So of course, I have my meeting with my supervisor once per week, but it could be, especially with Corona, that I wouldn't see any other person from work during the
To build
week.
a
So
strong relationship, to build a personal strong
yeah,
relationship.
yeah, is this one, of course, but also I was basically working on my own. That's what I'm trying to say. So I was looking for what I'm gonna do, like the research questions, and it was exciting me because the topics were nice in the beginning. I started understanding them more after a while and what I have to do for it, and every new small result was exciting, and so the topic actually made it good for me because I liked the topic and it got me excited and kept me motivated in working through the
It's
whole
it's
PhD
actually
actually.
yeah, it's actually my next question. Was the topic of your promotion fixed or not? And you said the topic was interesting. It was your research topic or it was your promotion topic, PhD topic.
So my PhD topic was not really fixed. It usually works like that for us. There is like a research project which is very big usually, or yeah, smaller to very big on the European
Yeah,
or global level collaboration, international collaborations. They do a research proposal, and then usually a PhD is one task of this big proposal. And some professor, some postdoc actually came up with this task, this paragraph, and it is really never really a given that this is actually possible. So someone had an idea and thought maybe this is possible, and it fits within our spectrum of tasks and topics in the research center and the project. So we'll write it down. And then you come as a PhD student and you get this paragraph. It's really just one paragraph that deals with this. So you can say that this is maybe fixed, but in the end, it's not fixed. So my PhD thesis on the technical side went to a totally different direction. Oh, no, sorry. On the technical level, it was still quite similar to what he was describing in the proposal, but on the scientific part, it was a little bit open and going away from what we were describing there. There were many changes to that.
because for your PhD topic, you have to have a certain special research question to find the answer for it. It is very deep
Yeah.
or deeper than the project topic itself.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you would have to work it out yourself. So you get it. And this also counts already to your PhD time. You write for yourself just to understand it as well, and you find out research questions. Um,
Which
in
which
the
cri- which criteria have you had for choosing this specific research question for your PhD? This means you have to go deeper. How you decided I want to answer this question in my PhD?
okay, how you come up with the questions, you mean?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
research questions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
your
think
PhD.
sure. Okay, so you have to do some research, like review literature, and I mean there are many things you have to actually understand what you want to ask. So you have to read and understand what's novels. I mean, working with a new model, working with a new variable already, I think is a challenge. So you have to read a lot, and then you have to read recent literature, so new books, new research papers, because the main criteria is actually that you would do something new. So you cannot ask a question that has been asked before, right? And you have to ask a question that makes sense. Um, and
Or
of course, you
answered
have to
before.
ask a question. Yeah, you have to ask a question that is important. So if you ask a question that is maybe really not relevant in the field, and then of course that's also not a very good topic, because in the end, one research question will actually translate into one if everything goes by plan, will translate into one research paper. And then nowadays, most of the PhDs are cumulative PhD contracts. So actually, you're not writing monography, but actually the papers that you write, so the research questions that you answer in the end, will be will work towards you achieving your PhD degree.
I go a little bit back to your personal situation. It's not personal, but it's back from or go back to you as as a PhD. You have or in your contract is so that you have to support maybe your supervisor, professors, and you said you do less lecture or something like that and support the student, but still you do some and you do the projects and everything. And how much time still there for your PhD? Because it's one side is the project, you have to do it, but the other side is your PhD topic. It's sometimes it's two different sides. And how much time
Mhm.
do you have for your own PhD topic for searching and reading and
Mhm.
writing? And how do you manage your time?
Yeah, I think that really depends on the time. So, in the beginning of my PhD, I was really focused and I had 100% of my time for my own PhD topic. But starting from the second year, it got less and less. So, as you said, I had to now give my knowledge that I gained to other students and had to do something for the professor. And it became so the time for my PhD became gradually less and less. So during some months, really for months, I would be maybe working on my PhD maybe for 1 day per week. In general, maybe hopefully it can come up to 50-50. So, but I think this is, uh, yeah, I'm not sure how representative my journey is here for other PhD students, but I can tell you why this was the case for me. So I started realizing that maybe it's not important to do only your PhD, but I think it gets increasingly important, and I think I did it on an extreme level to do other projects at the same time to actually pave the way for the future. So I, at some point, you will get involved in proposals for this research project. Usually, already maybe postdocs will do it, but if you want, you can already do it as a PhD students. Once you have a good overview and so on, and you gain knowledge of a certain thing, people will start asking you more and more questions about it because they don't know. They're not asking to test you, but actually they want your input for something. In the beginning, they ask you, but they ask to test you. And then after a while, they ask you because they don't know themselves.
Yeah,
So
because you
you
are
become
deeper.
also a source
Yeah.
of, exactly, you are the expert now, and you become the source of knowledge, and you become, through that knowledge, you become a source and a collaborator for many other projects and so on. And I started doing that a lot. So, yeah, just working with other people on their research papers, also PhD students, also postdocs. Yeah, also that's also part of maybe growing my own network. I think that's very important for the future. So I think it's important to actually come away from this. I'm only focusing on my PhD, but that's a dilemma on the one hand side. Also because your PhD contract is fixed, right? So actually, what you really want to do when you only think about your finances and your well-being and your future, you actually want to just finish your PhD as fast as possible. So usually it's 3 years, but in our institute and specifically in my group, nobody finishes in less than 4 years. So you will, if you're lucky that you find some funds and so on.
To extend it.
Yeah, exactly. So that happens. On the other hand, it's also important to work outside of your own PhD topic for the future. work. If you want to stay in academia, you need that network. You need to show a different set of skills, collaborations with other researchers, and in the end, when you're a co-author on someone else's paper, you will also enhance your H index. So that's like how many papers you publish and how many times you get cited. It's
Exactly.
actually like an exactly, it's like an index and people, when you apply for a job, professors or other people in academia, they will look at that index and decide whether they want to hire you. So it's important to also look outside of your own, um, of your own, yeah, let's say a PhD topic and only work for
Yeah, find the
research for
balance.
your own research topic. And specifically, I wanted to learn some different tasks, different skills, not only research. So I was, for example, being a representative, so trying to supervise other students. So yeah, that's not necessary, but I think it's also, I actually recommend it to everyone to look for those type of skills because I think having a PhD is also good if you want to go out maybe to industry and have leadership positions, but then you lack really this supervising or leadership skill if you don't look for it specifically. So if you just know about your, let's say you're a biology student and you just know about the biology of a cell, but then you get like a leadership position in industry, and that happens. I've heard of that only because you have your PhD title. I think you're entitled then again, but to be a bad leader. So
Yeah, to learn
yes,
to learn to be a giver too, not only taker, and actually take and give is a balance there, and to understand the people and learn it, because you learn how to, you have to have patience with supporting, you have to give space, time, and do that the student do mistake or something like that, and don't react aggressive or something like that. You have to learn,
yeah,
and it's the training of the emotional as a leader.
yeah, totally agree. Yes. So
Yeah,
I look
right.
for that as well. So that was
Yeah.
part of why I got less and less
You,
time to do my own research.
as I understand, you want to improve your social competences too, because at the end you could be successful if you have both sides, not only hard skills, actually human skills too, and to mix all of it together. Yeah, right.
Correct.
And I say you're a German guy, but actually the half of you is German, and you have a
Hmm.
very international mindset. And as I know, you love traveling. How looks like your traveling journeys in your PhD time? How you manage it? Your private
Uh, so in the beginning, as you might have guessed, Corona, but that actually, yeah, it was good on the one hand side and bad on the other hand side. On the bad side first, there were actually because I'm also involved in international projects. That's also like a plus if you want to be traveling a little bit. But generally, as a PhD student, there are possibilities to travel if there only if there are enough funds. But
conferences or something like that, you mean?
exactly, conferences, or you can do go for research stays. Let's say you know this institution in England and they are very known for what they do and it's very close to what you do. You can actually apply at your department to a research stay. It actually also helps them. You grow your network, you learn a lot with them, and you stay there for, let's say, 3 months or 1 month or 2 months, and then you come back and continue your work, but there you work on a different, smaller project. And usually this, as I said, are within a research project. So within that project, in the first 2 years, I was not able to travel because of Corona. But then once things got better, there were some travels. So it is a European project, so I was able to travel several times within Europe and several times also within Germany. And for conferences, for meetings, for seminars. Recently, this year, I have been to one conference in Japan even. So there are some very big conferences sometimes that are very interesting for you, and you could I could actually do that and go there. which was a huge privilege, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's definitely
This
possible if there are enough funds.
this means you could fulfill a little bit this your needs of traveling. Yeah, all
Yes,
right.
yeah, I could fulfill it a little bit.
Yeah, all right. We go a little bit back to science again, and I would like to know your deep opinion about the science world. How would you describe the science world, the system, the whole system of science world? How it's your opinion, or what's your opinion about it? Which feeling do
Mhm.
you have if you hear research world?
Well, I think for doing research, you actually have to be passionate about. I think many people are really passionate about it and they have a good time. But I think if you're not passionate about it, you'll have a little bit of a hard time. I say this because I think you have to sacrifice some things, especially if you want to stay there long term. At some point, you will have to sacrifice, I don't know, money, time, family. Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but I think the conditions in the science regarding that are not that fair, to be honest. So, for example, as a PhD student, you usually don't get paid for all the time you work, and yeah, it's a little bit harsh conditions. And many people still aspire PhD to do a PhD. So I think people are really passionate in science about what they do. So regarding that, general, like let's say the administration system, I think it could be improved a lot. And
Which
in
aspect?
regard for yeah, I think it could be more fair and recognize all the work that PhDs on the one hand side do and provide better chances for them to actually build a livelihood or from there and pursue a career in science. There is a lot of talented people that I also know. They will not stay in science because of such conditions, and those people are actually the ones we need. But I also totally understand that they don't want to work more than 50 hours per week. They don't want to work during weekends. They don't want to work in their holidays. They want to actually get a decent payment. They want to have more security, so that's actually a big thing regarding like a unlimited contract. Most research contracts, until you actually get a faculty position, or limited in time. So you have 2 years, let's say it's very common, and then you have to worry again, like where do I get more funds again? Which project should I change now? I think that really keeps a lot of people from science because it makes life a little bit harder.
What is or which reason are there for such condition in research? Why is research like that? This is system because of the system, or is there a reason why it's a little bit hard? Why they don't increase or extend the contracts or give the safety or a little bit more money? Why is the system like that, in your opinion?
I think it was given by a law. There's researcher contracts to limit them in time because the reason was to increase the competition, and then through increased competition to increase innovation in science. Yeah, but people really doubt that that actually has an impact on the competition and the innovation. People argue if you give a researcher a permanent contract, he can be much more creative and so on. I can't say if it's true or not. I can only say that people are really unhappy and we're losing a lot of good minds because of these issues. They're going from academia to outside academias to industry or NGOs, governments, and so on.
Can you or could you imagine that the system a little move to the we say what you said better direction? For example, give more chance to the scientists to stay longer, or you don't see currently this movement, or do you see a little bit that some, I don't know, politics or the research directors or something try to think about such problems to improve it because of these challenges, or still it's constant?
Yeah, I mean the research directors, for example, from the university or the institute, you mean?
University, or the whole university, the president, or the whole science, the person, the decision maker of the science. uh, do
Yeah,
you feel that they try a little bit to improve it, or they don't care too much? Or,
it's hard to say. I think to a certain degree you have to live with those conditions and make the best out of it, and
yeah,
then still try to change it. There are many initiatives to change this. Postdocs and PhDs, they unite and have some organized petitions and so on to change this, but it's gonna take a long time. I mean, for example, a research director, he can't do much. As I said, this is like a law that puts in place this limitations on the contracts, for example. And also a research director of an institute also has just to deal with how much money they get. I think money and science to some degree is also limited, and there is a lot of pressure on everyone. Um, and
because he's
still, yeah, excellent science and innovation is demanded, but not so much money is put into place. The other conditions are given by a law, and I think many people want to do the best out of it. So, for example, yeah, it's actually possible. It's not impossible. So, if the research director can make possible for you to have let's say not a permanent contract, but let's say a continuous uh, position that is like always funded for 2 years, 2 years, but you have the feeling like it's permanent, but actually it's not. But that I think he will do it, but he's actually just he has limited possibility to do that. I think to do so, you actually have to go through politics and change the whole system from um, top down.
yeah, yes, understand. You said about the administration challenges or something like that, that is high. Do you have idea how we could reduce this administration work for scientists, or do you have any ideas for some work? Because administration work is one word, but it's too many tasks what you have to do: contract, projects,
Mm.
reports, and there's many things. Do you have any idea how we could reduce it, or the science world could reduce it?
Yeah, I think the most easy part would be to just reduce the time pressure. Also, regarding the ideas and the startup idea you have, as I said, usually you are under a lot of time pressure and you cannot follow up good ideas. And if you cannot follow up good ideas, sometimes you cannot uh, provide good science. So I think to reduce this pressure, maybe you could definitely provide this unlimited contracts to scientists. I think that would actually help a lot. Yeah. So if you provide unlimited contracts, you would have like somehow of some type of more free science that can still be guided by certain guidelines and so on, or steered by the research director still. So you wouldn't feel that much pressure that okay, you don't know if you will have a salary in 3 months, and you would actually find the time to do good science and not deal with a lot of your troubles. And I think many PhDs, of course, they want a better salary, but if you can grow in salary, I mean, if you get more senior and climb a little bit, you can get a better salary if you're good. But I think many people also don't mind the payments as much as the limited contracts and the security. I mean, especially if you want to, let's say, build up a family, buy a house, and so on, it gets increasingly difficult because with limited contracts, it's hard to get loans. Yeah, and regarding your time also,
It's
yeah,
a
you have to
challenge.
spend. Yes, yeah. You
Yeah,
you also, I think many people work a lot. I mean, in general, they work a lot on one hand side because they like science. On the other hand, they work a lot to be competitive with others. Like there's like it developed this kind of mentality in science. Hey, I have to work on weekends, like that's normal. And if I want to get a postdoc, I have to work on weekends, else it's gonna be difficult. So if you would provide that type of security, I think it would make the lives of the researchers much less um,
Yeah, I understand. I think
worrisome.
maybe, for example, as I say, if we get less time, and sometimes, or most of the time, if you have less time, you have to give this output after this time. It means sometimes
Hmm.
you choose another input to use this time correctly. But if you have more time, maybe you choose another input, and another input maybe is more creative, better for the society, better output. But
Yes,
for this time, you have to decide it input, which input. And sometimes there is
yes.
a better input there, but sometimes you can't do it. And if you have
Hmm.
this secure time and life and money, and maybe it's changed the form of your decision, which input, which research topic I want to, or maybe it's more relevant to the society and solve better problems. Interesting. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And we go back to your PhD, and now you're almost at the end of your PhD,
Hmm.
and you described a little bit about your experiences. Would you like to do it again? And how would you describe your feeling right now? Because now the first year, a few years, it's gone, and would you like to do it again?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think in the beginning I mentioned that I it was not my plan to do the PhD.
No.
So now you're
Yeah.
asking me, would you still do it again? And yeah, I think I would. I think I would because actually I really like science. So I like working in this on this yeah um, in this in-depth analysis and thinking about things and reading. I actually feel I'm learning when I'm working, so I think that's a pretty good thing, and I especially like the freedom that comes with it. So even though you have to do stuff, you're actually like it's also depending on the personal experience. But for me, I felt like I could decide on what I want to work on. Of course, within a certain bubble, I can decide the details by myself, and I can decide what I do every day and um, in which direction I want to go. And this increases also during your PhD, so that right now, as I'm coming to my end, I can almost decide by myself what I want to do and which direction I want to go, and when I'm designing a new paper, designing a new research, and so on. Of course, I get input, which is also very important, but I'm kind of, yeah, deciding and leading my own research myself. And I really like this about it. And I think I would do it again. Yeah, I would do it again.
Yeah, all right. And you said a little bit about the direction. It's my last question. You do your PhD at a research center, not directly on the
Yeah.
university, but at a research center. Still, I
Hmm.
name it in research on academia. And
Yeah.
in which direction do you want to go after your PhD? Do you want to stay in research or academia, or do you want to go to industry? Or have you decided or not?
If everything was easy, I mean, if I could choose, actually, I have two offers, independent of the timing, independent of the place I want to work. I have two offers. One is in industry and one is in research. I would want to continue in research. But unfortunately, life isn't like that, and life sometimes happens. So for me, so for some private reasons and so on, and I'm actually looking for very certain things, and also for certain locations. Or to be a good scientist and actually to make a good career in science, you have to be very flexible. So it's pretty common to go to other countries, other continents, even. Uh, and it's very good for your career also if you want to be a professor in our field and you have experience in USA, this will give you an advantage over someone who did not. But as I said, for me, for private reasons, I'm actually looking for a more smaller path. I mean, I want to go into a specific place maybe after my PhD. I think that makes me less flexible and that just slightly increases the chances for me to go to industry. I'm not ruling out industry completely. For that, I'm not like passionate enough, or I mean, I also have to ask my wife, maybe we'll be a family soon and so on. So I have to consider all that and then make a decision. And I think for now, as I see it, I would like to go into the direction of research, but I think the chances are maybe 50-50.
Because you want to have this match between your private and work, and to have a better feeling for long term, not only work, then family and private, and it's important. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. We are actually finished with the interview, and you have the last word on those who are in science or in research or who want to go into the research. And would you like to say something to this researcher or this researcher for the Zukunft, for the future? It was a German.
For people who want to come into research, I would definitely tell them to follow it up, to follow their passion. And apart from all that I mentioned, I think it's a very personal journey, and you learn a lot about yourself. You grow a lot. So I think that's also different to other types of work. You grow as a person. And if you decide to do a lot of other stuff, which I recommend, for example, a lot more representation of other students and so on, you can, and I recommend doing it. And I think the chances of getting a good working place in future are also very good, regardless whether it's research or industry. So just follow up this passion, and I totally think that's a nice experience.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for the interview, and bye bye.
Welcome. Bye. See you, Ali.
See you.
Thanks.
See you next time. Bye bye.